Welcome to episode 7 of the VanDyk Mortgage West Michigan Conference Weekly Coaches Show. I'm host Cody Kater. Each week I'm chatting with a coach and players from West Michigan Conference football team. Today we feature the Ludington Orioles. Head coach Charlie Gunsell is joined by senior tight end linebacker Levi Laman and senior quarterback Chase Hackert. In its first season of the West Michigan Conference, Ludington is 5-2 overall and 3-2 in the WMC Lakes Division. The Orioles are coming off a 56-6 road loss against a very good unbeaten Whitehall team. This Friday, Ludington is scheduled to host a winless Orchard View squad. Before we get any further into the show, let's thank our sponsors from whom without their support shows like this would not be possible. First off, thanks to our title sponsor, VanDyk Mortgage Lakeshore. Thanks also to Foundation Systems of Michigan, Scheid Plumbing, Heating and Cooling, David Duesenberry of Coldwell Banker, Durga Insurance, Chris Dykema, and Sarah Reel at Greenridge Realty, Big Stone Therapies, North Grove Brewers, and Grieve Law. Charlie Gunsell is in his 19th season as Ludington's head coach. The Orioles have bounced back nicely from a tough 2021 season when they finished 3-6 overall. Gunsell has Ludington positioned to make the playoffs for the 4th time in 5 years and 5th time in 7 seasons. The Orioles are Division 4, same as Whitehall, so there's a chance the teams could meet again. Ludington will be a heavy favorite in each of the last 2 games, both at home, including the Week 9 matchup against neighboring rival Mason County Central. Accompanying Gunsell on the show is rugged senior tight end and linebacker Levi Laman, who is a reliable pass catcher and sturdy blocker on the offense and a physical presence in his linebacker spot on defense. Also on the coach's show, senior QB Chase Hackert, who has proven to be a dual threat. We're going to touch upon a little bit about last week's game, and we're going to move forward, into the remainder of the season. So thank you for joining the show, guys. I'm excited to kind of get to know what your guys' thoughts have been, joining the WMC conference, and kind of where you guys, have been and where you're going. So last week you guys ran into a tough Whitehall team that's also, on their homecoming. They're obviously a tough team, but Coach, what did you think about last week's preparation and kind of also the team that you guys went against in Whitehall?
Well, I think preparation, I was happy with where we're at. I thought we went in. I thought our kids were confident and excited. I will say I think Whitehall's a little different beast right now. We had a plan. We stuck to the plan. In hindsight, we kind of fed the beast. We turned that first half into about a 2-hour marathon. There was probably ways to shorten the game, but we just weren't comfortable doing that. But I do think, potentially we could see them again down the road. But they have a lot of pieces right now, and they play at an incredibly fast level. I was telling a story before we went on. Our kids are really honest, and rarely will you have kids say, we've got to do things faster because they're just getting to us. So they have a good group. They're well coached, and they got after us. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me as a coach in 23 years where somebody put 56 on us. So I think one thing, it was humbling. We've been playing pretty good football, and so I think it humbled us and it's prepared us to have a better week this week.
Right on. And this week you're looking at Orchard View.
Right.
This team is unbeaten, and last year they didn't have a squad, and the year before they had, a kind of a special year there. So, as you guys are joining in with them, they're joining this West Michigan Conference as well. What are you looking forward to this week?
We just need to rebound. It's not as much about Orchard View as it is about us. Like I said, I think really last week we went in, we were confident, but we were humbled, and we were kind of put back to a place where we've got to feel better about ourselves before we can move forward. So that's what this week's about. I know Orchard View's had struggles this year, and last year they weren't able to field the team, but I know Fred's a good coach. I know Fred's going to have them ready to go. So, the biggest thing for us is to get back to doing what we were doing and be comfortable with what we're doing. And if we do those things with the type of athletes we have this year, we'll be successful. And so just not make more out of it than what it is. We just need to play a better brand of football.
Okay, so what's the plan, Levi, for a better brand of football? Like what is Ludington, kind of hanging its hat on this year?
I think the difference is our senior leadership this year. Last year we had like 5, 6, or 7 seniors, but this year we have how many? About
14.
About 14 seniors, and a lot of them, this is their 3rd year playing. So I think the senior leadership is what's been the difference maker this year.
Okay, how do you grow that leadership? So how did that change over 1 year? Is that you guys went 3-6 last year and you just are disappointed, or is that because of the characters that are now a part of the locker room? Is it a combination of that? So how did you guys grow that in the off season?
I think a lot of guys put a lot more time in during the off season and got in the weight room and became faster, bigger and stronger. And they were like, hey, we don't want what happened last year to happen again, so let's do something different so what happened last year doesn't happen again. And so far it's been working out pretty good. Good
deal. So, as the quarterback, Chase, you have to take command of the team, and it sounds like you guys have some great leadership kind of growing up there. What is the plan for this week going against Orchard View for you in your position?
We're going to get the ball out, and we're going to beat up a lot up front this week, better than we did last week. So, they're not as big up front. We're going to be able to run it like we want to and get back to what we were doing the first couple of weeks when we were winning games. So
when you look back, on this season, and you kind of probably are someone who self-reflects a lot, as at a quarterback position and being a leader, what do you kind of foresee your type of play? Like what are you best at, and what do you do to really help this team be able to move the ball and move the chains?
I've been really good at making the right reads on offense. We do a lot of zone read stuff with our running back, and we're reading guys, reading DNs, reading nose tackles, and just knowing when to give, when to pull, and then when throwing, just making sure you're making the right ball to the guy that's open. So
you're reading the nose, man. You're doing nose read. That's nasty. I don't know if all the listeners are going to follow us on that one, but and we run an odd front, so we've seen nose read, in our OK conference, probably every single game, and it's just everyone has their own take on it. What do you like? What do you like most about playing the quarterback position?
I like being able to throw the ball, and that's probably my favorite part, is just being able to do everything. You can run it, throw it. I'm making a lot of decisions out there, and just got to make the right ones a lot. So
right, playing the point guard position, man. That's a lot of fun. So, Coach, you've been this is your 19th season. And you've probably, throughout that time had some ups, had some downs, had new conferences, old conferences. What do you think about this new, West Michigan Conference, and the makeup of it and kind of the scheduling piece of it and the competition?
I absolutely love it. It was the right move for Ludington from the get-go. You just look at our last 3 weeks. We hosted Montague at home. We had a big draw. It was a big take, we played well that night. Then we come back with Manistee for homecoming. It's the single largest gate we've ever had at Ludington as far as, people paying to get into the game. And then we come down to Whitehall last week and play in front of another sold-out packed stadium. If you're an athlete, that you want to play in those environments. And so I think moving into the Lakes and the West Michigan has provided us with that. As far as scheduling, it's eliminated. We had a nightmare. It was a nightmare at Ludington scheduling football games, 5 non-conference football games. So, having those 6 games already laid out for you is wonderful. We took a big trip week 1. We went up to Petoskey, and that was a lot of fun for the families and the kids. But, just logistically and costing of charter and things like that, you don't want to be doing that every week. So the West Michigan for us, clearly we're playing pretty good football right now. And, there'll be years where you're better than you normally are. We think that we can compete in this conference. We went to Oak Ridge. I even left Oak Ridge out. Oak Ridge was a tremendous environment when we played over there. So that's what I've always wanted. I want to play in big games every Friday. I think that's what our kids want. And so I couldn't be happier.
Right. So, Levi, you guys are playing in these new environments. You guys are playing in, the new West Michigan Conference, but also, these are, Ludington's a larger, kind of town. I know there's a lot of tourists and those kinds of things. And you guys are playing some of these, schools that maybe have a smaller, tight knit kind of town that follows well. Like I remember always being at Montague that we would get off the bus on a big game and, it was already full on the visitor stands. And we're walking and they're saying, hey, there goes our boys and all those things. They're cheering. Where has the best place to play so far? Besides, you can't, I know you're going to say Ludington, but let's leave Ludington out right now. Where's in this new conference? What's been your favorite stadium?
I mean, when we played at Whitehall, it was their homecoming, so that was pretty packed out. I really enjoyed playing at Oak Ridge with their turf field. It was just a great field. Like I said, the turf was really fun to play at. So I would say Oak Ridge was probably my favorite field to play at so far.
Okay, Chase, what do you think in the means of where's been your favorite place to play?
I'd say Oak Ridge had the best facility that we've played at so far, but I'd say Whitehall's atmosphere was probably the best.
Okay, what makes Ludington so special? So, are you someone who's grown up there?
Yeah, I've always lived in Ludington.
You always lived in Ludington. You went through the whole system there. What makes Ludington so special on a Friday night?
I mean, we got the fence if you've ever been to Ludington, there's a fence and you can park flatbeds. I got family that park flatbeds up there, buses. People got motorhomes, just pack the fence. They'll have fires, cookouts, frying fish, all that stuff up there.
Are they going in the gate?
Yeah,
they're not.
Maybe at halftime.
They're not coming in.
Oh,
it's a social. It's a social setting up
People
there.
tailgate
Okay.
and it's a lot of fun. People have a lot of fun with it. So
okay, so and you said Manistee was your largest gate.
Yeah.
Ever.
That's what the AD told me last week. He didn't give me a figure, but he said it was the best gate we've ever had for a football game. And you could tell there was a different feel. The hill was full about 4:30, 5 o'clock that day. Even though we don't get any finances from that, it does create our atmosphere. And so, but yeah, the place was absolutely packed. It's full as I've ever seen it there in my 23 years there, 19 as head coach.
Okay, so Coach, for you, 23 years at Ludington. I know that you work off campus, right? Mm-hmm. So, what has been your take on Ludington football, and what does it mean to you?
Well, Ludington football this has been a grind for that entire 23 years. And I think when we first got there in 99, I was working for Steve Brocklebank, and it was in a little bit of a mess at the time. And really, Steve started this process, and he got us to a spot in 2004 where we were starting to win a few more football games. And we've just really tried to take it from there and create a culture not only of competitive football, but of fun. And we want our kids to have fun, and we want to work really hard when we're having that fun. So I'm really proud of the fact over the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've been able to put very competitive football teams on the field. And then also on the flip side, when you look at our retention level, I think over my 23 years, I've had 4 kids quit the varsity football team. So I think that just kind of speaks to our family atmosphere and then the volume of kids that we bring through. And now I think the West Michigan only helps that. It helps our brand. At the end of the Lakes Conference, it was falling apart where really Catholic was at the top. Everybody was chasing them. Rarely did anybody catch them. So now that we're in the West Michigan, it gives all the teams within the conference a little bit of credibility when you step outside of the conference. So I just think that was kind of the final piece of the puzzle that Ludington football needed.
Right, and you again, 19 years as head coach. What have you seen? As you take on, you're reflecting on your, just is your time there. What have you learned, and what have you seen there that that just brings you a ton of joy and makes you want to come back the next year and the year after that?
Well, I think it's years like this, and even though the Whitehall situation, I'll bring that up again. We played in front of a hell of a lot of people last Friday night, and that was a lot of fun. And it didn't go our way one bit. Not from after the second possession, it was all downhill. But just to be able to have our team in that type of atmosphere felt really good. And when we've been in other atmospheres like that this year, and I think that's where I get the pride and joy out of it, is seeing our kids having fun, our kids being relevant in the game of football. Ludington's not always been relevant in football, but we're becoming more consistent. And then when we do step out of conference, like to go to Petoskey this year and beat a Division III or Division II football team in a tremendous football game up there in overtime. So when I step back and I look at that and see where we were and where we are now, and the type of kids we're putting out, I'm pretty proud of that.
Right, playing meaningful games, it just helps. Helps the culture of the program, helps the culture in the hallways. What has it been like, Levi, this year with your guys' record and your kind of your bounce back year? What has it been like up in Ludington in the hallways in the classroom? What does a typical week kind of look like for Ludington?
Well, I think, like Coach said, like we're relevant this year, so that just changes everything. It's not like, when you're not winning, it's not very fun, and it's not very exciting. People aren't telling you, hey, that was a great game. It was kind of, there's a little buzz around town of, hey, that was a great game. Who do you guys got this week? And I think it just kind of changes the whole atmosphere. People are excited about the next game, and it's not like, oh man, another game that who knows what will happen, but there's a little more energy around school and stuff.
What does a game day look like in Ludington? Bring us, from the first bell of the school day, all the way till game, the start of the game.
Well, I only have 2 classes at the school, so all the varsity, though, we all wear our jerseys to school, and usually I don't get very much work done on game days just because I'm usually focused on the game. But, there's definitely a buzz around school, telling kids to go to the student section and go to the game, but it's different.
What does Ludington football, mean to you? Have you grown up through the ranks all at Ludington, or have you
grew up in Ludington.
Okay.
I'm actually I have 5 siblings, or I'm the youngest of 5, and they all play tennis. Yeah. And so when I played football, it was kind of unexpected. But I'm pretty excited playing football now. And what were you asking again?
No, what does it mean to you? Since it sounds like your other siblings played tennis, mm-hmm. and now you're the one playing football. What has this experience brought to your life?
I would kind of say like overcoming like adversity. Like last year, wasn't the season that we really wanted, but mm-hmm. summer came, we worked hard and put in the time, and we're having a much better season. So, yeah.
You found out that hard work works,
mm-hmm.
right? I think, winners focus on winning, and then hard work works,
mm-hmm.
like if you guys all bond together and you guys can overcome some adversity. So,
mm-hmm.
Coach, you have this piece of you as just all at Ludington,
mm-hmm.
And 23 years, and now you're on your 19th season. What's next for Ludington football?
I think these guys have established and we have been establishing this, but just to be consistent, there's a lot of new going on at Ludington in regards to facilities. Oriole Field's going to be completely different in the next year or two. We're still working on the final details, but I think Oriole Field's going to become a more special place. Obviously the artificial turf goes down next spring, the field houses go up next spring, next summer. So that will get a complete makeover, and we're really excited about that. But I think with Ludington football, you look at our varsity, we dress 30 kids on our varsity, we dress 34 on our JV. We've got big numbers all the way down through 3rd grade. So we have really established over the years just some consistency and participation and kids that are excited about playing football at Ludington. And that was always been the goal, just be excited about what we're doing. And I think as we move forward, we want to continue with that and continue to put our time in the off season, continue to be a part of the weight room, continue to be a part of our community, and continue to be relevant. And that's always been the goal.
What's been the hardest part?
Consistency. We even though Ludington's a bigger school, and it is, I think we're at 675 students or something like that. We don't have a ton of athletes within our school. So we share, like these guys, Levi's been with me for 4 years. Chase has been with me for 2 years. And obviously JV before that. But these guys all play basketball. These guys all play baseball. These guys are all doing other things. I don't think on our football team, we maybe have 1 or 2 guys that just play football. So I'm pulling these guys one direction. Coach Shank's pulling them one direction. Coach Cruzy's pulling them another direction. The track coach is pulling them another direction. So, we have to be careful that we don't pull them too hard. Like when it's time for them to go play basketball, I've got to understand that. When it's time for them to do other things in the summer, we have to share our athletes. And I think at times that gets a little bit difficult.
What type? How does that create unity? Within your athletic programs at Ludington, because you've always been tough in basketball. That's always been kind of a narrative out there, and you guys haven't been you're tough in baseball. Mm-hmm. And you have those other sports that you were discussing. Does that create unity when you have to share all of those athletes, or is it make it a little bit more difficult for the kids to choose?
No, I think there's unity. I mean, I'll give an example. This year, we had started the season, and I have two kids that came out, well, not late, but at the very end. And David Schillinger and Matthew Westhouse, big basketball players for us, had nothing to do with our football program, and they've been very successful in basketball. Well, Matthew Westhouse gets maybe 4 or 5 snaps a night on Friday night, and David Schillinger maybe gets 3 or 4 carries a night. And these are guys that presumably are stars on the basketball court, and they handle it extremely well. So they just wanted to be a part of our culture and what we have going on. As far as coaches, there's no animosity. We understand our situation. I'm going to be at every basketball game cheering these guys on, and Coach Shanks and Coach Cruzy's at a lot of our football games cheering us on. So that's one good thing about Ludington, and I'm very appreciative of, is we don't have this. There's no secrets, There's not, we understand these are the kids we have, and we have to all use them.
Chase, so who's the better basketball player out of you guys?
Levi's been on varsity for 4 years.
Oh, so Levi's a little baller. All right, okay. Can he read the nose? No, he can't read. He's not reading nasty. All right, so as you're hearing, this piece of it, what does football do that helps you on the basketball court?
Decision making, because playing quarterback, you got to make a lot of decisions, and in basketball, there's not as many guys on the court, and you got to make the right one even more. So it's a lot of decisions and choices that.
Right. How does basketball help you maybe in football?
I'd have to say just execution. In basketball, there's a lot of execution on plays, just like football. But both of them, you need execution from both sides of the ball. So.
Right. So if you were to do it, you look back in your high school career, would you play both sports again and again and again?
Yeah.
No doubt.
No, yeah. Football is my favorite, but I do love basketball too.
Right. And they kind of go hand in hand. Would you feel like you miss, time with your friends if you didn't play it? Or is it more of like, this is a job?
No, it's fun. It's all fun because all these times with your friends, a lot of us play basketball. I think there's 7 or 8 guys, 9, 10 guys on the varsity football team that play on the varsity basketball team. Wow. So it's cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We're always together and it's fun.
Right. So do you have anyone that specializes in just basketball?
We did
until
but they came
those
out.
2 guys joined football this year. And
why do you think they joined?
I'm pretty close with both of them, and they just said they want to be a part of it, and they saw how much fun we were having, and
just the experience of football.
Now they get to be around us in football and basketball. It's a whole different aspect of sport.
Just a brotherhood piece.
Yeah.
All right, so Levi, it sounds like you've had 4 years on basketball, 4 years on football as well, and how many years on golf?
Last year was my first year.
Okay, all right. It sounds good that it sounds like you're trying new things. That's awesome, man. That's just part of life, like being able to put yourself outside of the comfort zone. It probably helped you in football, probably helped you in basketball, possibly. Just getting stretched a little bit. What has our football done for you on the basketball court?
I would say it kind of toughened me up. I usually have to guard the bigger guys because we don't have that much size. And so I would say football gets me kind of toughened up to guarding the big guys. Okay,
so what have you learned, through coach and through the, maybe other assistant coaches or anything along those lines that you took onto the basketball court or onto maybe even your team as a leader? What are some takeaways? Tough, huh?
I don't know. I have to think about that one.
Okay.
So I don't know. You're kind of putting me on the spot here.
What are some life lessons that football has taught you that you've brought into any aspect of your life in football or in like basketball or any other sport?
I would say if you want a spot, you have to work for it. My freshman year, I wasn't guaranteed a starting. They pulled me up, but I wasn't guaranteed to start on defense. I was mostly defense. And I kind of had to work for those spots and those plays that I got in. So if you want something, you actually have to work for it.
Okay, so I mean that's a great takeaway from anything that you do in life. But 10 or 11 guys, coach, that play basketball and then also play football, that's outstanding. I don't know what my number is. I guess my number would probably be closer to 2,
okay,
or 3. I know that we have a pretty good basketball group coming through right now, and a lot of them specialize in basketball. They do a lot of travel. Levi, do you do a lot of travel basketball?
Not right now. I used to when I was younger.
Okay. All right. So, that's outstanding. I mean, I love that. Like, you kind of sound like you guys are all in for Ludington. No matter what it is, you guys want to group up together as a brothers and go against whoever that may be, and you kind of don't want to miss out either, on certain experiences, so you'd rather just put the work in and find out what happens. Coach, going forward, you're ending it with Mason County Central. Mm-hmm. You guys play almost every year?
Yeah.
Close to every year or every year. And there is a rivalry there. And let's talk about that rival a little bit. What does that game mean to Ludington?
Well, there's only 2 schools in the county that play football, so, I mean, we're at, Mason County Central and Ludington. So these kids are together, and they're 9 miles to the east of Ludington, and then they're together in school, they're together at the college, they're together at the beach. I mean, these guys are together all the time. So that rivalry kind of starts there and goes right through our youth football. Our 3rd graders are playing Mason County Central, and so they play them every year from the 3rd grade through their senior year. So there's friendship there, there's animosity, there's everything you want in a rivalry, and it's great for Mason County. It's great for both schools. Whoever hosts the game is going to have a good gate because we all intersect with each other, and we really don't get that often. I mean, Manistee is obviously a huge rival, but they're 29 miles to the north. We don't have the Muskegon feel where it's just you could be playing somebody from across the street. This is the only opportunity we get to do that. So it's a trophy game. They created a trophy a few years ago, and they brought a little bit more notoriety to the game. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of fun. I like Scott at Mason County Central. I think he's in it for all the right reasons, and he's done a lot of good over there. And, for us, it's kind of been, if we did have struggled, if we had a rough year, we know that we have Mason County Central at the end of that schedule. And so you always know week 9, you're going to be playing for something. Mm-hmm. And even though we're playing much better this year, and we obviously hope to continue playing, that Mason County Central game is always special.
What about for you, Chase? What does that game mean to you in any sport, really?
It's a lot of you get to talk a lot to them. I mean, basketball we usually beat up on pretty good. Football they didn't field last year, so we didn't get to play them. But I mean, we've played them every year since like 3rd grade. So and I know a lot of the kids over there, and they know us, and it just makes it a lot more fun. I mean, so close. Are
there any student athletes that maybe have gone to Ludington that now go to Mason County Central, or vice versa?
I think
it's happened in the past.
Yeah,
it's happened in the past.
So there's it's fluid a little bit,
somewhat fluid.
Greener on the other side there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get to talk to them a lot. You kind of know who they are. The scouting report a little bit. What does it mean for Ludington? Like as you look back on and reflect on those games, what does it mean for Ludington to beat Mason County Central?
I mean, like Coach said, they're the only other football team in the county. So I mean, you kind of win the county a little bit, and a lot of people are going to come, and it's going to be just a lot of fun to be there. So I mean, and both our rivalry games, Manistee and Scottville, we already got one, so we want to win another one. I mean, you kind of want to take care of both those games every year. And
good deal. What does Mason County Central Levi do, that could, give you guys some trouble?
I haven't watched.
I'm sure Levi hasn't watched an.
I haven't watched anything on them yet, but I don't know. I'm super excited for that game. I remember my freshman year I think the last time we played them. That was when I scored my first touchdown. So that was a really special game for me, and I'm excited to play them again.
All right, good deal. And then and now we're going to go back, to the playoff, view here. So looking at a balcony view, you guys obviously 2 years ago you guys had a really strong season, and 3 years ago you had a strong season as well when it comes to the playoffs. So how tough is it to make the playoffs, Coach, at Ludington?
It used to be tougher before the West Michigan, actually, because
Yeah.
of all the non-conference games. You really weren't sure what you were getting into. And then we talk about last year, the struggles we had. We had to just fill that schedule, and we were having trouble. So we ended up picking up Belding, Sparta. Picked up some pretty good football teams that worked us over pretty good.
Whitehall.
Thanks, Chase. So, we picked those 3 non-conference games up, and we were 0-3 in those games. So now that we're in the West Michigan with some consistency, I think you'll know what you have to do. Like, it used to be that 6 and in type of deal. Now it's all based off points. But you figure now if you get to 6 or 7 in the West Michigan, you're in. Because you're going to have some quality wins. You're going to have to beat somebody who's pretty good in order to get to that 6 or 7 win total. So I think there was an expectation coming into this season. I think if we fell short of the playoffs this year, I think there would be disappointment. We would certainly still put a positive spin on our experience this year, but I think these guys were determined from day one, or actually last November when we met, that we weren't going to go through what we went through last year, and that the playoffs were where we needed to end up.
Okay, so what is, making the playoffs, Levi, what is that? What does that look like for you and your legend, with your time and your boys at Ludington?
I mean, Ludington's only made the playoffs, I don't know, a handful of times in its history. And so I think if we're able to put our name up on that plaque, then it's like we can always go back and be like, yep, that was our team. And like I said, only a handful of times we made the playoffs. So I think if we make a little run this year, then I think that's what we're looking for. I mean, we would be the first to make a good run in the playoffs, so it would be pretty special. Right
on. So then Chase, you're looking at the teams that you guys have played this year. Have those teams prepared you for the playoffs, or maybe possibly for a playoff run?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Oak Ridge they were really solid, and it gave us some adversity that we hadn't seen much yet, and we were able to play them tough and then just fell short. But playing teams like Petoskey, bigger school than us, they got athletes. I mean, and then definitely getting an experience like Whitehall, it kind of humbles you and, lets you know what's out there for when the playoffs.
What about a game like Montague where I think, they were up, you guys were able to come back and just kind of storm by them, what type of, confidence did that grow throughout that game?
Yeah, that was that in the first half we had some plays that didn't go our way, we had some calls that didn't go our way, and then we went into halftime and we knew we could move the ball, we knew we could do things we wanted to do, and we came out of half and we just played with energy and made plays right away, and it was all downhill for them from there, and we just made plays. All
right, and then Coach, you as well, you had the Fremont game.
Right.
You had some pretty tight, you had the tight game with Fremont. You also had the tight game with Montague. And then, you look at your game against Oak Ridge, that sounded like that was a hard fought game that went back and forth. Looking at that Fremont game, what did that tell you guys about your team?
Well, I think Fremont's a tough physical group of kids, and that was the first game of the year. Petoskey, even though they were bigger, they weren't as physical as we were. And then to go to Fremont and get punched in the nose, I mean, they really punched us in the face early on in that ball game, and we were really struggling offensively. So just to have the wherewithal to get through it. It's not always going to be pretty. We talked to our guys about that. Sometimes it's about getting the W on Fridays. And so we were able just to kind of, minimize the damage over at Fremont, and defensively we played incredibly well. And so our kids showed some toughness there. When you bring up the Montague game, I think that was the game where people finally did start to say, hey, Ludington's playing pretty good football, because Montague's got a good football team. I mean, I know they're young and they're going to get better, but just people that don't follow high school football, they hear the Montague brand, and Ludington beat Montague, and then people start talking about us a little bit. So I think that was probably the Friday night that kind of sent us on our way. And the Manistee game, like I said, at homecoming was a wonderful experience for everybody. But then what happened last week? So now we just need to right the ship a little bit and get back to doing what we like to do.
Right on, and I think that's a great segue. It's been a lot of fun, hanging out with you guys. I wish nothing but the best. I mean, it sounds like you guys are happy, with the season that you guys are having, and that's all of it. At the end of the day, that you guys can be prideful, and excited and happy about your experience and about the work that you guys put in. And obviously, never be satisfied. We all know that. It's hard when you're in season, you're during the grind. Coach is always on me, but it sounds like you guys are really leaving your legend and leaving your numbers at the school is what we discussed, that when you walk into that plaque or a banner or something along those lines in the gym forever. With your numbers, and you can tell you're tell your significant others or anything along those lines that those were my years. So it's been a lot of fun. I think this part of it too is that, we are, it's exciting talking to newcomers. I've obviously been in the conference for a while. I'm not anymore, but I was in it, since 1999, man. My brother graduated in 99. So I was in those stands from 96 to, 2010. So I saw a lot of football, a lot of WMC basketball, football, and baseball, and seeing you guys a part of it and finding success, and it's going to be good. And it sounds like a new stadium's coming to your guys' way.
It's going to be exciting up there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a pretty special place.
Are they going to be able to back the trucks up on the fence?
We're not going to mess with that. That is Ludington.
Yeah, that is.
If we ever messed with that, there would be a revolt. It would be big problems.
Okay, that's good, because I did see on Twitter that before the Montague game that you guys were already out there in full force, kind of hanging out back, and I'm like, Montague gets stunned on stuff like that pretty quick, so you guys have a good chance. Good deal. So, again, thank you to our sponsors. Thanks to our title sponsor, VanDyk Mortgage Lakeshore. Also, thanks to Foundation Systems of Michigan, Scheid Plumbing, Heating and Cooling, David Dusenberry, Durga Insurance, Chris Dykman, Sarah Greenridge Realty, Big Stone Therapies, North Grove Brewers, and Grieve Law. That will do it for this week's episode of VanDyk Mortgage West Michigan Conference Weekly Coaches Show. Enjoy the games, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.